Alright, the legalization of prostitution. So how come pornography is essentially paying people to have sex and recording it, but if you would just want to pay a prostitute, it's illegal, and may I add, quite sketchy. I know prostitution is not an easy topic to talk about, and as it turns out, some of the most important things in life are the hardest to talk about. I've considered many times in my life what it would be like to be a prostitute, and have done quite a bit of research on the topic. Prostitution is a massive problem in the country, and legalizing it would greatly benefit our country and our people. In the rest of the speech, I'm going to go over the legalization of prostitution and how it will benefit the economy, decrease crime, and help the working girls. Introducing a larger legal prostitution process in the United States would be a massive help to the government, bringing a lot of money in for taxes that are currently untaxed. Just because prostitution is illegal does not mean it's not happening all over the world, including the USA. It turns out that it is actually quite large industry that could have a potential of around $20 billion annually, according to Debating Europe. Similarly to the other way that before marijuana was legal in most states, it was still being consumed in insanely large quantities. And now that weed is legal, the people and in turn the government now get to profit from the legal use of it. This would also help unemployment because illegal prostitutes wouldn't need to collect unemployment, and the jobs that would surround prostitution would also provide more jobs in total. As it turns out, prostitution merits quite a bit of expenses, which, if legal, would all be taxed and accounted for instead of just being pocketed by pimps or prostitutes. According to the study done by Harvard Law School, in just 2 years, we averaged 2,500 federal trafficking cases, and approximately half of them are involved underage victims. Just let that sit for a while. This costs the government a lot of money, which would be significantly lower if legalized. We are going to dive a little bit deeper in the real-life crime that follows illegal prostitution. One big advantage in legalizing prostitution would be the laws that would be put in place in the industry and how the current state of the black market prostitution would change and in turn lower crime drastically. If laws are created to protect these women, then there will be a lot less crime against them because people will understand the consequences for their actions. According to HG Legal Resources, prostitution is actually the most dangerous job in the United States, even higher than logging and Alaskan fishermen. The death rate for prostitution is actually over 0.2%, which doesn't sound like a lot. There's actually more illegal prostitutes than you would think. This goes beyond death rate, though, as the spread of sexually transmitted diseases would also dramatically decrease, and if prostitution would be more controlled and managed. One big thing that comes into play when talking about underground prostitution ring is sex trafficking, which is a massive problem all over the world, including the US. According to Allison Bass from HuffPost, after Rhode Island made indoor prostitution legal, even if it was an accident, for a few years they saw a decrease of over 30% in reported cases of rape, and very similarly in decrease in gonorrhea. This is just one example of how we can see the decline in crime following the legalization of prostitution. Furthermore, we see the very important benefits that the actual hardworking escorts would see if prostitution were legal. Finally, but certainly not least, we're going to go over legalization of prostitution and how it would benefit the prostitutes themselves. The legalization of prostitution would also bring laws and regulations for how the workers are treated and how businesses will be conducted, which will 100% better the lives of the workers. If everything is more transparent about prostitution, then there will be a lot less misconceptions and general mistaste for the work, and it will become more normalized, just like any legitimate job. Also, it gives women less legitimate ways of making money without an education that is safer and lucrative. For example, in Amsterdam, there are very specific laws in how prostitution is conducted, which controls how the services are run and in turn makes it a lot safer for the workers. We can also see the legalization of prostitution would also change the way that people view the men and women in these fields, and one could even go as far as to say it would be good for women's rights as well. According to a study done by Harvard Civil Rights, an average sex slave typically costs the pimp $1,895 annually and generates $29,210 roughly annually. If legalized, it would drastically lower the amount of sex trafficking, which would help the workers quite significantly because the way these workers are currently treated is beyond inhumane, which sometimes even includes illegal activity on its own, such as, keeping the sex slaves sedated with drugs and just manipulating. So overall, I hope I can at least get you thinking about making prostitution legal and how many benefits it would bring. In this speech above, I went over the legalization of prostitution, how it would benefit the economy, decrease crime, and benefit prostitutes. Prostitution is prostitution is seen by many as a very dirty and gross job, but the truth is making prostitution legal would actually bring a lot more benefits than the current state of illegal prostitution. So please try to be less afraid to talk about prostitution because you could be saving lives and on top of that helping our country in more ways than you would think. So next time you're talking with friends, maybe try to bring it into the conversation to see what others think and get the ball rolling on getting people interested in change.